Undefeated boxers build an invisibility aura around them,
Makes him feel like a warrior. Makes him feel like a gladiator.
knocking out one opponent after another. They become gods. But as the famous saying goes, even gods bleed. Let's get into this special episode of Home of Boxing, where we show you the biggest upsets in boxing history. Tommy Morrison versus Ray Mercer. Morrison entered this fight a boxing beast with a staggering record of 28-0. Famous for his explosive knockout power. But Mercer didn't just knock Morrison out in their 1991 WBO heavyweight title fight. I swear you can see his soul leaving his body, if only for an instant.
That'll wear you out in itself, just that nervousness.
Mercer with two good right hands. And now Mercer on Morrison in the corner. And Mercer's all over him, and Morrison in trouble. And Morrison goes down for the first time in his career. And that is it.
That's it.
It wasn't a left hook that did him in, a punch delivered in the 5th round. But that's not the punch that stole a man's soul. If you pause the tape just right, there's an instant after he was already finished, when all human thought and function cease, trapped in the ropes as the hard-punching Mercer delivered blow after blow. Morrison's eyes didn't show pain, regret, or even suffering. They were completely dead. David Tua versus Ike Ibeabuchi. Entering as a serious underdog, the 1994 Texas Golden Gloves champion, Ibeabuchi, who until that point hadn't beaten a significant foe, stood in the pocket slinging bombs with his opponent, showing no respect for a guy whose punching power drew comparisons to Mike Tyson. Ibeabuchi was 16-0, yet he was far less well known than Tua, who was also perfect at 27-0. It was a non-stop action, hammer and tong style from round 1 to the final bell, and despite their best efforts, neither guy was ever able to put a dent in the other. It was kind of a fight where upon watching it, upon being moved by it, the thought that both men were giving too much reared its head in the mind of the viewer. It turned out that Ibeabuchi, who won via unanimous decision, had given too much, his brain the victim of trauma that was not picked up on any scans. After his 12 rounds of hell with Tua, rounds and rounds of torrid two-way action, both chins tested to the max, savage trading exchanges to die for, gut check after gut check passed, Ike began complaining about headaches. Nothing was found via MRI scans, yet Ike would never be the same fighter or human being again. Soon after the biggest win of his career, Ibeabuchi began hearing voices coming from the air conditioning. He was being followed by demons and evil spirits.
Of the new heavyweight champion, Ike, the president, Ibeabuchi.
Foreman versus Moorer. George Foreman was among the most destructive heavyweight champions of all time in the early 1970s, bludgeoning other legends like Joe Frazier and Ken Norton for early stoppages. In 1987, Foreman returned at age 38. At first, few took his comeback seriously, but as he built himself back into fighting condition, it became clear that his dangerous power was still with him. At 45, Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion in history when he knocked out Michael Moorer in round 10. Moorer entered the fight with a stunning 35-0 record. Foreman lost almost every round of the fight but hung in the pocket, looking for the opening for his sledgehammer right hand. Foreman, old enough to be Michael Moorer's dad, had no right taking him out the way he did. Mike Tyson versus James Buster Douglas. Tyson, the hottest prospect in boxing, entered his February 11, 1990 matchup against Douglas in Tokyo with an unblemished record of 37-0. On the contrary, Douglas, who before the Tyson fight owned a respectable record of 29-4-1, prepared for his battle versus the champion with a combination of terrible heartache and newfound determination. A mere 3 weeks before the matchup of his career, Douglas' mother passed away. Instead of understandably sulking, Douglas utilized his mother's tragic death as a source of motivation. When Douglas walked to the ring to face Tyson that momentous evening in Japan, it was evident that he was in peak condition, and the look on his face gave the impression that he was also mentally ready for war. Buster dominated Tyson from the outset of the fateful 10th round, and he ultimately finished the tilt off with a vicious combination that knocked the champion onto Queer Street with 1 minute 22 seconds remaining.
Look at this! He's knocked down for the first time in his career!
Neither man was the same after their matchup in the Far East. Tyson failed to become one of the most accomplished pugilists to ever grace the squared circle. Similarly, Douglas ate away his potential and squandered his natural boxing capabilities. Orlando Salido versus Juan Manuel. Given that Salido just got to Gamboa decisively and now Lopez was going to face Salido, it was expected for Lopez to beat Salido too. As the saying goes, tough styles make fights. Based on Salido's record, you still had to expect Salido to give Lopez all he could handle. And that's exactly what happened. The fight took place in Puerto Rico, which was the hometown of Juan Manuel Lopez. Lopez was making the third defense of his WBO World Featherweight title, and had a flawless record of 30-0 with 27 KOs. Salido came in with a record of 34-11-2 with 22 KOs. After 30 fights of stunning crowds with his ability to neglect defense and always come back to score the victory, Juan Manuel Lopez's streak ended. Orlando Salido captured the WBO Featherweight Championship via 8th round technical knockout after connecting with countless right hands, including one that landed Juanma on the canvas in the 5th round.
No more is he undefeated, and Salido has pulled it off.
I think it was a bad stoppage, or though Salido was winning.
Lennox Lewis versus Oliver McCall. Billed whose moment of glory, this was a professional boxing match contested on September 24, 1994 for the WBC Heavyweight Championship. Lewis entered the fight with a stunning record of 25-0, 21 KO, but McCall, who had lost 5 fights before getting his big chance, was a live underdog. 24-5, 17 KO. A former sparring partner to Mike Tyson, the automatic bull was ready to charge. Having served notice in round 1 that he had come to fight, McCall produced a right hand in the next that ended up bringing an early end to the proceedings. His trainer, Emmanuel Stewart, had spotted that Lewis held his left hand low. When the Englishman attacked, McCall countered brilliantly. He followed up a short left hook with a huge straight right, dropping Lewis to the canvas. The champion rose quickly, too quickly. Still feeling the punch, he stumbled around as referee Jose Guadalupe Garcia continued to count. The Mexican official took a close look at Lewis and decided he could not continue.
What is this? The WBC's referee has stopped this fight after a count to 9.
McCall did a star jump in the air as he realized what he had achieved before running around the ring with his arms aloft. Lewis, meanwhile, had his arms spread out wide, questioning the timing of the stoppage. Per Box Rec, the beaten fighter branded McCall's right a lucky punch. Make sure to check out some of the other clips from our channel if you enjoyed this one.